Good day everyone, bonjour tout le monde, this is Roger, and welcome to this new episode of BIA, the Dodgers of Canada. After the 1st Canadian Infantry Division successfully broke the defenses of the Hitler Line, the 5th Canadian Armored Division, now commanded by General Hofmeister, will take on pursuit the Panzer Grenadiers and the Paratroopers. The German 10th Army has to move out of the Liri Valley as fast as possible to avoid being trapped by units of the 5th U.S. Army who just broke out of the Anzio beachhead. But reconnaissance elements of the Lord Strathcona will be fast on their track and catch up to them at the Melfa River. A fierce tank battle broke out as the stunned Germans turned around to face the Canadians, and there were many casualties on both sides. But the LDSH will succeed in crossing the river and establish a defensive position at a farmhouse, hoping that the infantry will catch up to them as soon as possible. In today's episode, we will discover the area where this famous engagement took place that yielded to the 2nd Canadian Victoria Cross of the Italian campaign. And we will meet Mr. Ben Manalti, who was just a young boy when the Canadians liberated his family and took care of him.
North bank of the river and coming directly to a farm, Ricci farm, still there. Inside the Ricci farm there is a Fallschirmjäger command with 10 Fallschirmjäger inside, and surprise this soldier, they take prisoners and get in the farm the strong point of the Canadian defense, waiting the arrival of the reinforce of the Westminster Regiment with the Mayor Mahoney, and he resists at the counter-attack of the German soldier with the tank, self-propelled tank, Panther. It's very heavy battle with many casualties. There is the Ricci farm house. Yeah, farm, yes. And there is the plaque dedicated to the battle. This is another road. This road was built from the Canadian Ginnery. The reason is the road before the war was built from here.
Was built by the engineers?
Yeah, from the engineer. Yeah.
Hey, hi everyone. Right now I'm standing on the south bank of the Melfa River. In front of me is the dry bed of the river. I'm walking into it. This was the line of approach that the recce element of the LDSH took on the 24th of May 1944. After the Hitler line was broke, These Iraqi element moved forward at the astonishment of the Germans, who were not prepared to receive them, crossed to the other side of the Melfa River, established a defensive position around the farmhouse that still exists today, and they held their position waiting for reinforcement. The LDSH, actually, these troops were led by Major Perkins, and not long after they were waiting for reinforcement that came. Major Mahoney with the Westminster Regiment crossed here, went to reinforce the LDSH position, and together they pushed back many counterattacks, German counterattacks that were backed by tanks, anti-tank guns, and self-propelled guns, artillery, and everything they had to try to push the Canadians back, but they didn't make it. For their actions at that farmhouse here at the Melfa River, Perkins was received the DSO, and Mahoney received the Victoria Cross.
July, His Majesty the King pays a visit to Canadian troops in both France and Italy. In Italy, he presents the Victoria Cross to Major Mahoney of Vancouver for bravery at the Melfa River.
All right, so now I'm going to cross over on the other side. We're going to reach that house where those brave men were consolidated in their defensive position, and I'm going to show you a road that was built made by the bulldozers of the Canadian engineers to allow the remainder of the Canadian Corps to cross and continue their advance to Rome. So the road I told you about earlier that was built by the engineers to cross with the bulldozers, basically to cross the Canadian contingent. I'm walking on it right now. This road that we're on will go down toward the river. Hey. Okay, so now I'm just a little bit upstream on the Melfa River. You know, like I told you earlier, there was a road built by the engineers to cross the remainder of the Canadian contingent, and this is the road I'm on right now, and it goes up along the side, and it goes up like on the other side of that farm, that famous farm where the defensive position was, like where the fighting happened. And there's actually a picture of a tank with a soldier holding a Piat gun right on the road where the engineer trail goes up and ends where the German tank was blown up. It's amazing to realize that this road still exists today and is still being used by the local farmers. Because of those hard-fought battles and victories at the Hitler line and right here at the Melfa River, the road towards Rome is now open for the Canadians and their allies.
History is being made on the Italian front. The 1st Canadian Corps win their spurs at the breach of the Hitler line. The maze of fortifications was calculated to stop the 8th Army before Rome. It is shattered by Canadian armor and infantry.
Named after the misguided maniac whose minions built it, this impregnable wall was going to halt the advance of the Allied army. Sledgehammer blows from Canadian armor and infantry cracked it wide open. Prisoners moved back in hundreds, the crack troops who tried to withstand our blows. Men of the Nazi Elite Corps, the 1st German Parachute Division, the 19th Panzer Grenadiers. They've met more than their match. There is no halt to our steamroller advance. Pouring up the Leary Valley, the next strong point to be overwhelmed is Caprano. Important as a vital road junction, Caprano is taken after a stiff assault. With the backbone of enemy defense broken, with the 5th Army troops cutting all southern highways from their Anzio beachhead, and with Kesselring's 10th Army in full retreat, it's a war of movement, and fast movement. Canadians, chasing ragged enemy remnants, straddle Highway 6 on the way to the capital. Ahead, the shining towers of Rome beckon them on.
Good morning, Ben. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. And how are you?
I'm very good.
Pleased to meet you all of you.
Yes, well, yeah, you know, it is an honor actually to meet you. And you know, as we are here to tell the stories of the Canadians in Italy during World War II, and I hear you're an eyewitness. You're still an eyewitness of the things that happened here at the Melfa River. Yes. And we're really, really eager to hear your story, and also your personal story, also as a young boy, how you lived it.
During in May the 24th, when the Allied troop broke, it came this way. We come back from the mountain and we come here. Me and my father, we came here, and with all the Canadian troops, they were all down here, you know. But we come in from suffering time. We were very suffering previous that, you know. And when you arrive here, we find the Canadian troops. And they give us a lot of help. They give us food, they give us all the things they could give to us. And for us, it was a big thing to achieve, you know, because we haven't seen the bread for 6 months. We haven't seen, you know, we were full of lice, full of flies. We were in terrible condition. But the Canadians, they are very good human sense, you know. They give us, we had no food, hardly no clothes. We had, you know, bearing feet. When we came down from the mountain. And the Canadians, they had full human sense, you know. They had a lot human understanding. Yeah. And they gave us what they could, you know. It was a man here, he came down, you know, friend of my father, and my father, they was walking down the other side, and all the Canadian troops was there, and they put a blanket on the floor, and all the Canadian soldiers, they put bread, food, they put biscuits, they put what they could, you know, full of stuff, you know. And said, this man said, he was a pretty old man, and he said, I can't, too much weight. He said, I cannot, never mind, bring to Bambino, come on, bring Bambino. And this man, you know, with the big flag, you know, all the Canadians put, you know, they used to put things, yeah, you know, all they could, and oh, maybe it was 100 weight stuff, more, I think. And he brought me to the family, to the children, because we had nothing, no food, nothing we had, you know. And the house was knocked down. You know, these trees in here, they were all cut down, you know. When the fighting started, in May the 23rd, 24th, the Canadians come from that way, from Pontecorvo, where we know, they came here the other side, and they found the people, you know, people, hardly they have no house, in sheltering some places, and sheltering under the banks, and they made the banks by the house, you know. And when the fighting was getting heavy, so it was a family here, you know, family, they escaped from down there, they come down this bank here, you know, bank, because in here they had bunkers. In this bank, the other side, there was all people under they dig out the caves, and they were here, you know, when the heavy fighting come. And so they come in, this family, he come from the other side, and he said, like, we better run away because the fighting is getting heavy. Come on, let's go. And they, from down there, they come, and they start bringing the children, you know. But they had an old lady there, old lady, she couldn't talk, she couldn't speak. And he said, well, we bring the children now, what we could. They come in on these caves here, in these bancos, and then we come back and get get the old girl, the old lady. So they come in, yeah. When they started to go back, it was fighting heavy, they couldn't go back. You know. And this lady, she was left there, this old girl, old woman was left there. And they couldn't go because it was heavy fighting. In this bank here, it was all the blood on May the 25th, down there, huh?
It was all?
Blood over there, yeah. So they stopped 2 days after, they went back to see, they get that old girl, old woman, old lady. And when they went in this house, they found this lady, full, nice and clean, full of food, biscuits, chocolate, bread, nice and dressed, nice and clean, nice and washed, this girl. Well, the people said, what is it? We didn't have even the water yet. Who done all this? He said, look, the soap, nice and clean, this old girl, but she couldn't talk. So after 2 weeks, they come with the 2 soldiers, Canadian soldiers. They come with the lorry. They come with the lorry from, the fighting was, the lorry, they come in from the other side of Rome, from Rome. They come down there, where they left this girl, this old lady. And they said, look, when we passed here, we hear somebody crying, shouting and crying. So we smashed the door, we came in, and we found this lady full of lies, full of dirt, full of everything, but she couldn't talk, nothing. So we washed it, and you done this? Yes, we done this, they said the soldiers. Oh, this, they went all, it was a very human thing, things you never forget, because this lady, she had the treatment, the first good treatment she had in her life. Because, she never had the treatment like that before, because we didn't have the facilities to do it. We didn't have no water, no soap, nothing. But she was nice and clean. And they came here, and they said, thank you very much to these Canadian soldiers. And they left other food today. We like to do other food. Well, this is the things like that. It's happened, many other things happen like this, you see. But this is one thing I remembered very well, this is a thing. But like that, the kindness where the Canadians were very kind, they understand where we were. Because what happened in war, it was our fault. It was our fault, but we don't know. But the Canadians understand that, and they give us a lot of help.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing this wonderful story with us.
Well, it is a wonderful story. Yeah, well, I was a young boy in that time, and I asked Mom, I'm hungry. I want some bread. Mom cried because she didn't have no bread. She didn't have no food, And when they arrived, she had white bread, it was for us great thing. That's one story, but there is a lot of stories like that, It's a lot of stories like that. The Canadian, they made it to us, and we can. I always say that, in my life. I say, I am forgot, and I'll never forget all the Canadians, all the help they give to us, because we were in a terrible condition. And I'll say, never forget, I am forgotten, never forget. And I say, thank you to the Canadians. They give us help, and they give us freedom and liberty. God bless Canada, and God bless Italy. Good things. great. Thank you very much. I know for me too. To have you all the time.
Mug. You ready? All right. So Alessandro is being with us. He's a good sport, so we're gonna give him a bravery and arm hat. Bravery and arm hat, buddy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This is a useful gift today, considering that as a typical sunny Italy, sunny Italy was the joke of the supposed
Sunny.
Dodgers.
You're right. Sunny Italy.
And so, well, you have a good example.
For we're the Militaire Dodgers out in Italy.
So where are we standing right now, Alessandro?
We are in the middle of a Torrescia crossroad. Torrescia crossroad was the place of an important battle, a battle between the armor of the Canadian forces and the armors of the German forces.
Okay.
In particular, in this spot, the Lord Strathcona's horse Sherman tanks, receiving orders straight by General Hofmeister on the 30th of May 1944 to cover and to cross a lateral road in the attempt to close the flow of enemy traffic from Cassino to Frosinone. The Canadian 5th Armored Division and the 1st Canadian Division advanced to Ceprano. They had some skirmishes in Pofi area on the Highway 6, and at that point the Highway 6 was the border between the 78th British Division on the east side and the Canadian forces on the west
On this side. So that highway is right there to our right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. And so the final target was Frosinone, which is the provincial capital. This battle is a tank battle. They had to cross this ridge, nicknamed by troopers in the Strathconas Hog's Back Ridge. They were a full view of the German armor located a little north, as this area is a continuous series of parallel ridges, and 3 Sherman tanks were hit by the Germans located just north of this point. But one tank was Sherman tank. It was commanded by Corporal Matthews, joined to this point and was able to destroy one German Panther tank, one German Mark IV tank, a 75mm self-propelled gun, and meanwhile the rest of the B Squadron, Lord Strathcona's horse, were able to destroy all their remnants, vehicles, motorcycles, and wherever. The guys of the Edmonton Regiment joined this important point, which is like the door to Frosinone to north. There is on the other side of the road a maple leaf from Canada with a plaque with the names of the 3 Canadian soldiers of the Royal Canadian Army Service Corps.
Can you tell me the story of that plaque, Alessandro?
Yeah, there's a plaque dedicated by Gino Bargaglia Farnetti to his three fathers.
It's 3 fathers.
Fathers, in a way, they were the 3 soldiers in a company of the Royal Canadian Army Service Corps, and they found this starving little child around here, and so they adopted this child, and he was with them all the way to the Baltic line and to Ravenna, where the Canadians served in Italy. At one point, the Canadian Army had to move to Holland, Anyway, Gino,
Gino plays that plaque there.
yeah, and the maple leaf here is from Canada.
On this site, which overlooks my home and the area in which I was found, in this soil, which received the remains of 9 Canadian soldiers, this maple, the symbol of Canada, is laid in memory of Mert Massey, Paul Hagen, and Lloyd Red Oliver, who rescued and took care of me in June 1944. My gratitude goes to them and to all Canadians who contributed to restoring our freedom.
And so it's important to remember the 3 guys that were very clever as teacher, teaching to everything to this child.
That's
child
good.
that had his own uniform. At one point in North Italy, the company was inspected by a captain. And the captain was very upset to him because his pistol, he had pistol but not ammunition, his pistol was not clean. So in front of a comrade, it was
He was inspected. Right on.
inspected.
Good young man. I really thank you for sharing this story because it shows that even in the worst of time, in wartime, we see the worst of humankind, but we can also see the best of humankind, right? And this is one example of that. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
and hope to see you again soon in Italy
We will.
with a better weather.
That's the infantry sunshine. About this beautiful story of Gino that Alessandro just shared with us, there's currently a movie under production by my good friends of Combined Forces, Karen Storwick and Robert Curtin, with executive producer Tony Battista. The title of the movie will be Gino, a Child of War, and will be released in a special outdoor event in Torrice, Italy on the 1st of July. And later this fall, here in Canada. I am sure this will be a beautiful and inspiring movie for the whole family that you don't want to miss. As Alessandro said, the Canadians continued to pursue the retreating Germans, 10th Army, north of Torrice toward Forizzone. 2 Brigade, 1st Canadian Infantry Division, and 3rd Frosinone on May 31st. On June 1st, the Royal Canadian Regiment of the 1st Brigade and the Queen's Dragoons Guard captured Ferentino and carried on another 15 kilometers north to take Anagni. At this point, the Canadian Corps and the 8th Army were ordered to stop their pursuit to allow the US 5th Army that was coming from the Anzio beachhead toward Artena and Valmontone to trap the retreating German 10th Army, hoping to force them to surrender before they could reorganize. But to add to the frustration of the Canadians, instead of pursuing the Germans, General Clark preferred entering Rome as a great liberator on June 4th, letting the Germans slip away. This will have grave consequences on the duration of the Italian campaign and result in many more months of heavy fighting and mounting casualties. Unknown to most of the soldiers of the 1st Canadian Corps is the fact that there were Canadians who walked in the Eternal City on the morning of June 4th, 1944. They were members of the famous 1st Special Service Force, a highly trained unit of North American commandos. So stay with us, as in our next episode, we will relate the liberation of Rome and other significant events that happened during the summer of 1944. For BIA, the Dodgers of Canada, this is Roger. Till our next episode, Custos Memoria.